call this regular City Council meeting of September 24th, 2024 to order. If you could please stand and join Mr. Casey Lippert in a prayer and moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. Roll call, please.
Mr. Tankersley?
Here.
Mrs. Sharpshire? Here. Mr. Cook?
Here.
Mr. Lovett?
Here.
Mr. Cox?
Here.
Mrs. Knight?
Here.
And Mr. Schmidt?
Here. Thank you. Are there any corrections or additions to our minutes of the September 10th regular council meeting? Seeing none, those stand as distributed. Mayor Hardman, swearing in of new firefighters.
Absolutely. Mr. Coulter, would you join me up front?
Sir.
Always great to welcome new folks into our ranks, especially amongst our fire department. And we're going to do that with two of you tonight. So, Cody, come on up. This is Cody Allen. Cody is originally from Orient, Ohio. He was most recently employed by the Dayton Fire Department. He held that position for the last decade. And then he got smart and came down here and joined us. He and his wife have been married for 10 years. He has two young boys who are 5 years and 16 months. And during his time off, he enjoys spending time with his family, playing with his children, gunsmithing, and video games. Cody, is anyone here to celebrate with you tonight? Go ahead. Hi, Lauren. Nice to meet you. You got a plaque for me so I can swear him in? Come on up here, Chief. You're part of this too. All right, Cody, raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I, Cody Allen.
I, Cody Allen.
Do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear.
That I will support the Constitution.
That I will support the Constitution.
Of the United States of America.
Of the United States of America.
The Constitution and laws.
The Constitution and laws.
Of the State of Ohio.
Of the State of Ohio.
And the City of Sharonville.
And the City of Sharonville.
And that I will honestly and faithfully.
And that I will honestly and faithfully.
Discharge the duties.
Discharge the duties.
Of the office.
Of the office.
Of firefighter paramedic.
Of firefighter paramedic.
To which I have been appointed.
To which I have been appointed.
According to law.
According to law.
And to the best of my ability.
To the best of my ability.
Congratulations. Welcome aboard. Don't go far. We'll get a picture of both you and Michaela. Is it Michaela or Michaela? Michaela. All right, I got it right to begin with. Michaela Gill, born and raised in southern Louisiana. You still have the accent? Oh, darn it. For the past 10 years, she's resided here in Cincinnati, recently purchased her first home in the Price Hill neighborhood. When she is not at work, she enjoys fixing small projects at home, as well as spending time with her daughter, Kay, who is 8. The two like to frequent boba and coffee shop locations in the city. Michaela has been a paramedic for 4 years and a firefighter for 2. She was previously full-time at Woodlawn Fire Department, where she had many areas of responsibility, including a partnership with the Cincinnati Youth Collaborative, where she invested time sharing firefighting experiences with high school students. She's excited to be with us. We're excited to have you and looks forward to her career and personal growth here in the city of Sharonville. Anyone here to celebrate with you tonight?
My daughter, her dad, and then my best friend from Woodlawn.
Thank you for joining us. If you'll raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Michaela Gill.
I, Michaela Gill.
Do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear.
That I will support the Constitution.
That I will support the Constitution.
Of the United States of America.
Of the United States of America.
The Constitution and laws.
The Constitution and laws.
Of the State of Ohio.
Of the State of Ohio.
And the City of Sharonville.
And the City of Sharonville.
And that I will honestly and faithfully.
And that I will honestly and faithfully.
Discharge the duties of the office.
Discharge the duties of the office.
Of firefighter paramedic.
Of firefighter paramedic.
To which I have been appointed.
To which I have been appointed.
According to law.
According to law.
And to the best of my ability.
And to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
take you down the line here. And then I think, if I'm not mistaken, we're going to take a motion to move into executive session.
Yes.
So, family and firefighters, in a minute, we're going to go into executive session, so you guys have all the time in the world to take other pictures with these fine folks. Not all the time in the world.
All right, I'm going to request a motion by council to go into executive session, Ohio Revised Code 2021.22G. Item 3, conferences with an attorney for the public body concerning disputes involving the public body that are subject of pending or imminent court actions. Do I have a motion? Mr. Schmidt, thank you for the first. Mr. Levitt, thank you for the second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Tankersley?
Yes.
Mrs. Sharpshire? Yes. Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Mr. Levitt?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mrs. Knight?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
All right. When we're done, we will re-adjourn back into council chambers to continue the rest of the council meeting. Thank you.
Mr. Tankersley?
Yes.
Mrs. Sharpshire? Yes. Mr. Cook? To the bathroom. We'll come back to him, I guess. Mr. Levitt?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mrs. Knight?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Cook? Okay.
All right, we're out of executive session. Thank you.
Back to me, right?
Back to you. Reports.
If I could, I'm just going to take a moment and recognize one of the folks running for state representative, Ms. Jen Giroux. She's hung out here while we've had our executive session, so if I will give her some of my time as part of my report this evening. So.
Very much. I appreciate that. So as the mayor said, my name is Jen Giroux. It's pronounced Giroux like Jerusalem, even though the spelling is bizarre. Nobody knows how to pronounce it. So it's Giroux. And I am a registered nurse. My husband and I have had a small business in Madeira, the Catholic shop, for 25 years, which has really allowed us to meet a lot of people around the city. I told him he really should be running because whenever we go anywhere, everybody knows him. But, and we have 9 grown children and 6 grandchildren. And I've had a lot of experience in 15 different schools, one of them actually being one of the Princeton schools. My son was in Stewart Elementary for a while. And I've always been a problem solver. I've been to a lot of school parent meetings with people I agree with and disagree with. And just really good at problem solving. So as we've been watching the evolution of what's going on in Ohio and the country, with all of our kids grown and away from home except our special needs adult daughter, I just decided that I wanted to run for office because I still believe in traditional family values. I believe in small government. I believe that we are one nation under God and we are one state under God. And I grew up on the east side of Cincinnati. I actually got my license right over here and worked at Citizens for Community Values for a few years, which is no longer there, but I did parent outreach to help keep kids safe on the internet at that time. And even in nursing, I had a lot of experience in different areas of healthcare, and so I am a big advocate for religious and medical freedom. And so I just felt like when I looked around, I wanted to use the talents that I have to try and go up to the State House and represent communities like you and our district, which has been redrawn again and is very large. But I will tell you there's a very, very black and white decision to make between myself and my opponent. We are very far apart on a lot of things. She is, even with the schools, I think it's sad that parents don't feel welcomed at school meetings, and she more backs, parents not having to be aware if the kid wants to have a sex change, or, you know, other things that are going on in the schools, and I believe we need to get back to academics and keep the politics out of schools and raise our test scores and make our kids be able to be productive in the community. So I am a conservative. I am running with the Republican Party, but I have been talking to a lot of independents that I feel very encouraged by, that we also, I think, are going to support my candidacy. So I just really wanted to introduce myself in hopes that I will be your representative. I spoke to a few of you today, and I really am interested, as much as I've been in and out of Sharonville my entire life, because I grew up on the east side of Cincinnati, down my childhood on the border of Fairfax and Madisonville by St. Margaret's Church. Played a lot of sports in this area. And so I just hope to be a representative, and I hope to learn a lot more about what your needs will be if I am your representative in the near future. So I very much appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And that is all I have for this evening.
All right. Safety Service Director, Mr. Lucas.
A few things before we get to the legislation, a couple public things. St. Michael's is having a trunk or treat on October 4th. I don't know the exact time frame, but they'll be closing the streets from 5 to 10, so sometime within there, obviously, the event will be happening. Our community center is having their own trunk or treat in conjunction with Sharon Woods. That's on October 15th. There's 3 time slots that tickets are required, from 5 to 5:30, 5:30 to 6, and 6 to 6:30. You can either get tickets from our website or at the community center. I checked with Michael about 3 o'clock this afternoon. That first slot is fully booked, but there's about 200 to 250 tickets left between those other 2 slots. For the elected officials, we have 2 retirement functions coming up. Randy Bernhardt, after 36 years, is retiring, and Steve is having an event at the Public Works Garage from 11:30 to 2 on this Friday. And Keith Schoonover is retiring after 31 years, and an event will happen here at the City Hall on Friday, October 11th from 1 to 3. Obviously, if you could make it, that would be appreciated. Going into the legislation, Ordinance 2024-53E is authorizing the Cornell Culvert Project to be bid and awarded. We've talked about this before. I don't think, unless Steve has something else to talk about, that's really all that this legislation is doing. Ordinance 2024-55 is appropriating some dollars and return of advances. Scott's here to talk about that.
Good evening. Appropriation Amendment 2024-55 does several things. We've requested a couple of amendments and appropriations, an increase in the Parks Rec to cover some increased water bills, a decrease kind of reconciling the ARPA First Responders Fire Grant down to the total grant award. When we put the 24 budget together, we kind of broke that estimate roughly in half, and that was an overestimate on where we actually land. We were able to utilize a little bit more than we anticipated in 23 on that 2-year grant. Section 3 is returning several advances, 4 of them to the general fund. These are the dates and the ordinance numbers are spelled out in the cover memo. These are advances that have kind of happened since 2021, 2022, 2023, I believe. And returning 4 advances to the general fund, 1 to the fire fund. It was the first of 2. There's another one still kind of outstanding related to the ARPA First Responders. ARPA First Responders Police is being returned to the general fund. And then $500,000 to the Convention Center fund that we advanced over ahead of the county loan. The county grant, part of their funds. The just a little bit, just to kind of explain, follow up on what we talked through in Law Committee. The FEMA reimbursement down in Section 3, that is the full amount of that FEMA reimbursement. This is functionally the same thing. It reads a little bit different than what I talked about there. There's $195,000 of that spelled out in Section 2 of the FEMA Bridge project. Stuff that we expended, mostly all of that for right-of-way purposes that we didn't end up having grant funds for. But we did it in case the FEMA bridge would reach an impasse we would submit that for grant reimbursement. So this is stuff we needed to do for the project anyways. It would have been our responsibility, but we paid more out of that 421 FEMA fund than we were able to get overall from the FEMA resources or the ODOT reimbursement. So what we're functionally doing here is transferring that amount over. And this procedure seemed a little clunky. It was kind of prescribed when I looked at what it takes to forgive a advance that can no longer be returned in fund. This step is prescribed by the auditor state in their compliance supplement. We have to transfer the 195 over, approve it, record it, and then we return or reverse out the advance. So the general fund's effectively receiving the net of the 1.8 million and the 195 from the FEMA project. So we talked about kind of a status middle of 2023 in Finance Committee of what advances we kind of had outstanding. So this is most but not all of those advances. So any questions on that one? That is a lot going on in that one. So
Ordinance 2024-56E is an OPWC application that the county wants to submit. Scott and Steve can correct me if I'm wrong, but we received some OKI funds at 6.1 million of the $6.9 overall project estimate. That estimate has gone up to 7.8 million most recently, and they're waiting on even a further increase based on inflation and construction materials going up. What this will do, though, is pay for our local share, hopefully all of our local share, so we wouldn't have to pay any dollars out of our pocket for that project. That's the Fields Earl project, the improvements at Conray with the roundabout, and at McCauley with the traffic signal improvements there. I don't know if you guys have anything to add to that.
no, yeah. There's a fair likelihood that myself and Jim are going to have to execute some documents as part of the county's grant submission. It's been a while since we had any kind of legislation or discussion on that project. It's been a little bit of a backup on it.
Scott, while you're up there, why don't you hit on the resolution with your Know the TV series little game?
Yeah, so the one resolution on the agenda, first of all, statistically, we are way behind in resolutions for 2024. That should be concerning. We're only at resolution 4. That is not, we should probably have more legislation. But, so resolution 4 is a resolution accepting amounts and rates. This is accepting 0 mills in the tax levy. In the cover memo, I kind of shared a snippet of what the most popular TV shows were in the fall of 1984. That was the first time that Sharonville elected voted on a resolution of amounts and rates at 0. So this will be the 40th year of that. So. Any questions about that or concerns?
Thank you for the history lesson.
Yes. Thank you.
Ordinance 2024-57E is a salary ordinance change requested by Rachel and the police chief. They're both here tonight to tag team on that.
Thank you. The ordinance is to amend the salary ordinance for the police department's positions within the department. So in a nutshell, we're looking to remove one of the lieutenant's positions right now. With Lieutenant Schoonover's pending retirement, we will have an opening, and we are in the process of going through a staffing study with the Ohio Chiefs of Police, and we think it's a good idea to wait to do anything until after we get the results of that study, which are many months away, but in the meantime, we would like to remove that position so we do not need to fill it. If the study comes back and advises that, we will reconsider that.
This will not change the number of police officers. We are just removing that lieutenant position, correct, Chief?
That is correct.
Just so everyone is aware. So we're still staying at the number of officers you've all approved. We certainly still are hoping to fill all those positions. It's just a matter of, once the study is completed, determining what the structure, what the best structure of the police department will be, rather than just going in and filling this lieutenant position now. because there's an opening.
Yes. Any questions?
And then the last piece, ordinance 2024-58E. David's working on a pretty exciting economic development agreement. If it comes to fruition, he will talk about that.
Thank you, Jim, and good evening. So as Jim alluded to, I've been working with Jobs Ohio and primarily Ready Cincinnati, working with a local employer that is looking to, basically by way of a long-term contract, hire up to additional 300 employees. They already have a pretty large footprint, but they also operate globally. So these jobs can go anywhere in the United States or across the world. The project name is Project LEAP, and so we respectfully request that council authorize a 40% ACIG for 5 years in hopes of securing that these jobs take place here in Sharonville and not in other stores.
No questions?
That's it for the legislation.
Thank you. All right, my report, Princeton's homecoming parade is October 2nd, and elected officials have been invited to walk in that parade, and Ms. Ellerding had sent out an email to everyone with the logistics. I don't think, though, it stated where we were to meet. But
I know in the past, it's been the middle school parking lot, but I do know I'm waiting for that principal, but they did say lot 30.
okay,
You'll probably be in front of Viking Village. That's where it was last year. Because so it's just a group of, just ask for slot 30, but they're lining up across Viking Village.
that lineup is at 5:30.
Yep.
Okay. And then October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, so please join me in wearing our pink polos for our 2 meetings next month. And thank you for the Prostate Cancer Awareness Month and wearing your blue polos this month. That's it for my report. Ms. Buhite, Clerk of Council.
Thank you, no report.
All right, Mr. Cunningham, Auditor.
I have a very short report tonight. We're about 66% of the way through the budget, and we've only spent about 58%. Looks like our working cash seems to be hovering at a somewhat elevated level, so that is good news, and that's all I have to report tonight.
Thank you. Treasurer, Mr. Irie.
I too have a condensed report tonight. As Mr. Cunningham said, we're 66.67% through the year, 2/3 in terms of our collected revenue for the major funds. The general fund is 86.4% collected at this point. Fire fund is 80.9%, senior housing 74.2%, and the convention center fund is 65.7%. So we are on pace or doing better than in all of those funds. That's my report.
All right, thank you. Any questions? Law Director, Mr. Lippert.
Thank you. I'm requesting that council consider an executive session at the end of the meeting to discuss a different matter of pending litigation. Thank you. That's all I have unless anybody has questions.
All right, seeing none. Mr. McCandless, Economic Development Director. I'll give you 2 minutes.
Thank you. In the interest of time, I will try to be as brief as possible, but thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. Having started in August of last year, I asked Jim if it would be okay if I just kind of gave a September to September report and kind of cycle like that. So as such, I guess we'll just get started. Some of the things I just wanted to touch on briefly, business capital investments, taxes remitted, notable new businesses, kind of what my department does from a business and strategic stakeholder engagement standpoint, property acquisitions, business assistance programs, grants secured, and what's new in 2024. So rounding out the top 10, and we could discuss any of these later, but these are based off of permitting reports and community development. Cincinnati Children's Hospital Medical Center comes in number 1 at over $45 million invested in the property up the road at Canal. Scarlet Oaks at $5.6 million, Vandalia Rental, which will be opening at the end of October on Houck Road at $4.1, and you can go through the list, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. Withholding tax remitted, special thanks to Susan Ernst for pulling this data and Scott for confirming it. Just taking a look at between September of 22 through 23 and comparing it to 23 to 24. Withholding taxes range from 24.6 million going up to 26, a little over 26 million over that time span. Basically, the total increase in withholding was $1.4 million, and total wages from September to September of 23 to 24 was about $1.73 billion. Some of the notable new businesses, and the slide was only so big, so I hope I didn't miss anybody. I'm sure there's more, but Ray Hamilton Company that relocated here from another community in this region, almost $1 million in payroll. JP's Salsas, it's a minority-owned business that is primarily focused on serving the public sector, does a lot of work with Princeton. Waygate Technologies, ARI-HETRA, a company that relocated from Warren County. Many of you were at the Silver Fern event where they invested $20 million into the Clarion Hotel conversion. They are now open and operating. Northern Tool, that was a project I believe Jim Lucas worked on before I got here, but they opened their doors over the winter. Their first location in Ohio. Moonflower, just down the road, replacing Adesso. UDF, with their largest gas station built to date, over on Mosteller. That was a $14 million capital investment that included the House Mansion purchase. And MRA, they opened their doors over on East Business Way. The mayor was there for the ribbon cutting, and we are grateful to have them. Business and stakeholder engagement, like I said, kind of confusing. It looks a little murky, but business visits were basically just a number of businesses that I met with, whether it just be checking in on them or a formal meeting. Maybe it was a tour over the past year. Stakeholder and partner meetings, for those of you that aren't aware, sit on the city has a permanent seat on the Northern Cincinnati Chamber Board. So at quite a few chamber functions, Ready Cincinnati functions, Alloy and other partners as we work on economic development matters across the region. Business retention and expansion visits, those are critical and usually a team effort. Usually involves Ready Cincinnati and Alloy, as everybody kind of brings different resources to bear. One of those was at Brighton True Edge, just up the road, where we sit down and say, what are your pain points? What are your needs? How can we help both as a state, as a regional organization, as a city to help you grow and basically increase your business and make it more profitable. Continuing education, this was both a priority of mine and that of the city's. I took the basic economic development course before starting my employment here with the goal of obtaining my full CED credential. That is something that I'm grateful for to you all for supporting me in that endeavor. I had the opportunity to take the business retention expansion course up in Columbus earlier in May, and have registered for the workforce and talent course in October, also up in Columbus. Several courses thereafter, and after a capstone, I hope to earn that credential, and again, thank you for your support in that endeavor. Strategic property acquisitions, in keeping with our comprehensive plan. We are again grateful to the Wickemeyer family for reaching out after they sadly closed the hardware store on Reading Road, as well as the property that we acquired at the corner of Sharon and Reading, and also the old A&J Floral store and the adjacent parcel after the property owner had passed away. Some of the tools that we use that you all are familiar with, including one of the ones that I asked for tonight. ARI-HETRA, it was a commitment of up to 16 full-time employees. Brighton True Edge, Job Creation Incentive Grant, with a commitment of up to 91. Children's Hospital, of up to 109 on the conservative end. And Loth Holdings, both as a retention and expansion tool, 85 full-time employees retained, with 14 new ones to be brought on board in the next few years. Tax abatements. The council, as you well know, has chosen not to levy property taxes. Hamilton County does. You all have given us the ability, with the Safety Service Director and Mayor's authorization, to basically grant improvements to taxes on real property. That includes Phelan Development, which we are now blessed to have Ray Hamilton with a job commitment of up to 75 full-time employees. Vandalia Rental, which I had mentioned up the road on Halk Road, of up to 19. Live Smart Studios by Hilton, that is one of Sean Pan's properties. That is scheduled for Q2 of next year. $18.5 million investment of up to 20 employees. And Rookwood Properties, that is a Fred Cantor property as part of the Enclave, $3.1 million investment. The community and small businesses in particular are continue to be very grateful to council, and you're basically taking care of the smaller businesses. They matter, they're the backbone of our economy. I've listed a couple of the ones that were completed within the past year, everything from 513 Sports Cafe, a $90,000 investment, Executive Park Investors, $750,000, the Hart Animal Refuge of $16,000. Each one of these investments goes a large way to improving properties and a rising tide lifting all boats. To date, $36,700 has been paid out. There are plenty more in the pipeline, so that number will go up. Grant secured. We're grateful to the Ohio Environmental Protection Agency. Got confirmation tonight that that number will likely double with their targeted brownfield assessment program to help remediate some of our more challenging properties that have an environmental issue. The Ohio Department of Development worked hand in glove with Executive Park Investors, otherwise known as the Six up the road, for the demolition and then rebuilding of what was a dilapidated parking garage. That award was worth $397,000. And in conjunction with the Community Development Department, worked on an expansion of our existing facade grant program to try to essentially fill vacant spaces and expand the program where it otherwise didn't exist. We're grateful to Hamilton County for that $300,000 reimbursable grant. What's back? We had our 2024 Sharonville Business Appreciation Breakfast. The mayor was gracious to give remarks as there was a convention center update. Eli Wickemeyer was given an award as well for his gesture to the city, and it featured remarks from the Lieutenant Governor John Husted about his role in the state in economic development. What else is new? This was something that was started by my predecessor and kind of just pick up and ran with it. A new economic development website, choosesharonville.com. Hope you can check it out, and it can be a one-stop shop for information based on for community events, as well as business news, site selection, and other things of that nature. What else is new is the Trommel Fossil Park sign. This was kind of a project done in conjunction with Parks and Recreation. There was a business component to it where we reached out to businesses that were in the office park, and for a one-time fee, they were able to get their name up on the sign. I did not put the old sign up, but it's much improved from that one, and we appreciate your support in that endeavor. Miss Jade Soul Food, that is still coming in on the way. The kitchen is being installed. There's always hurdles to every project, but she is grateful for your faith in her, and we hope that she is up and running soon. Just wanted to leave it with a thank you to each and every one of you, each and every department, and especially Lisa Grimes for helping me keep me out of trouble. And I just appreciate every department and the component that they play in economic development, all those different touch points. If you don't recall what that picture was from, it was from being Sharonville being named a best hometown at last year's event. With that, sorry I tried to run through that as quickly as possible, but are there any questions?
David, good report, but I know, well, I don't know, just wondering, has there been any type of movement on the old Sugar Creek property there on Kemper Road?
We are in ongoing discussions with them. They are looking to operate out of that location. Timeline has been moved back a little bit, but still having that conversation as recently as the Chamber Golf outing.
Okay, I was just curious if anything has happened with that building yet.
Yes, sir. That'd be looking towards 2025.
Okay, thank you.
As I've told you multiple times before, I think you're doing a fantastic job, and I appreciate all of the time that you and your team spend on economic development in the city. It's very important, and I think you guys are doing a great job, so thank you.
Thank you all.
You have questions or comments? All right, thank you. At this time, are there any residents desiring to be heard before council this evening? Ms. Ellerding. Could you please state your name and address for the record?
You were funny. Okay, here we go. So, I don't know if you've noticed, we've gotten some rain this week. There's rain in the forecast, which must mean I'm planning another event. That's how this year's going. So, this weekend we have Loop Quest. It's our first time bringing it to the Sharonville Loop. It's where you can register a team of 4 people. You get a set of questions and clues. You go around the loop to solve it, and you enter your answer into the website, and it takes you to a raffle for the grand prize drawing. So I'm here to say we are still accepting registrations. Just because there was an early deadline to guarantee your first inaugural beer stein for this event does not mean that you have missed the chance to partake in this awesome event this weekend. So we'll take that through this weekend. You can register online by going to our website, sharonville.org. Scroll to the bottom. It is the first item underneath City Spotlight. And then after that, in October, our next downtown event is our family Halloween movie night, Friday, October 18th, 8 to 8 with the 7:30. Fun food truck back, and they will be serving up hot chocolate, popcorn, and a s'mores bar for everyone that evening. So just wanted to let you know we've got some more fun ahead of us in the downtown loop. Thank you. Any questions?
What movie?
It's The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. Yes.
My grandson Gabe and I attended the library on the square.
Oh, yeah.
And it was not very populated, but I think everybody had a great time. They loved the art project and they loved the snacks. So I just want to tell you, you did a good job.
Yeah, thank you very much. Something that we've seen out of Stories on the Square is kind of what we attended. We're trying different events that gear towards different populations in our community, and also bring people downtown so that they patron our businesses. And I did see after this last Stories on the Square, we had a grandma and her grandson go to the Schmidt's food truck. Someone went to Charcuterie Creations, and then someone went over to brunch at Already Cafe. So it did exactly what we wanted it to do.
And thank you for all your hard work and out-of-the-box thinking to bring people downtown, so I appreciate that.
Most certainly. It's a fun job. Thank you.
All right, council committees, community development, Mr. Tankersley.
Thank you. No report tonight.
Thank you. Budget and finance and project oversight, Mr. Cook.
Thank you. No report. I will, to be determined, the next budget and finance meeting, and I will send that out when that's been finalized. Thank you.
Thank you. Community services, Mr. Lovett.
Thank you. Good evening. No report this evening. I am pushing the October meeting to October 16th at 4 p.m. in the administrative conference room. Sorry, I apologize. And just to kind of touch on what Anna said, Saturday night we went to the outdoor movie at the rec center. Took our kids there. It was a really wonderful event, so thank you to all who were involved in that. Quite a showing, and the Mario movie is what was played while we were there, so thank you.
Thank you. Honored citizens, Ms. Knight.
Tonight, I'm honoring the small businesses of Sharonville, especially all our restaurants and eateries. Now that it's fall, tends to be a little chillier, so you don't want to sit outside and eat. So I hope people still go. I know Charcuterie has inside seating, Already has inside seating, Blue Goose, Rockefeller, they all have inside seating. So let's make sure we still keep going, even though it's cold outside. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a countdown to when the root beer stand opens again? No?
Jake should know that.
He's in school right now. I haven't heard from him, so. All right, thank you. Law and Public Safety, Mr. Schmidt.
Thank you. The next Law and Public Safety Committee meeting will be October 1st, 4 o'clock, Administrative Conference Room. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Rules and suspension motions. First and only reading for immediate effectivity of ordinance 2024-55, 2024-56E, 2024-57E, 2024-58E, and Resolution 2024-R-04E. Is there a motion for late delivery and rule suspension for those ordinances and resolutions as read? Mr. Cook, thank you for the first. Ms. Sharpshare, thank you for the second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, no. Okay, that is passed. That's on the next one. Yep. So rules suspension motions for the second and third reading for immediate effectivity of ordinance 2024-53E. So is there a motion for ordinance 2024-53E? Mr. Cox, thank you for the first. Ms. Knight, thank you for the second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, yes? Yes. All those opposed, no? All right, that passes. Thank you. Ms. Buhite, unfinished business.
Second and third reading of emergency ordinance 2024-53E, authorizing the safety service director to bid the Cornell Road Culvert Project, to award a contract to the lowest and best bidder, to appropriate additional funds for the project, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Is there a motion for ordinance 2024-53E? Mr. Levitt, thank you for the first. Do I have a second? Mr. Cox, thank you for the second. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Mr. Tankersley?
Yes.
Mrs. Sharpshare?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Mr. Levitt?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mrs. Knight?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Emergency ordinance 2024-53 has been approved. Just a second reading of ordinance 2024-54, amending codified ordinance 521.17 to define and incorporate public safety incidents. And that's it for unfinished.
All right. New business.
All right. First and only reading of ordinance 2024-55, amending 2024 appropriations for various funds and authorizing various return of advances of funds.
Thank you. Is there a motion for ordinance 2024-55? Ms. Sharpshare, thank you for the first. Mr. Cook, thank you for the second. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Tankersley?
Yes.
Mrs. Sharpshare?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Mr. Levitt?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mrs. Knight?
Yes.
And Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Ordinance 2024-55 has been approved. First and only reading of emergency ordinance 2024-56E, authorizing the safety service director and finance director to execute and submit documentation for an Ohio Public Works Commission application and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Is there a motion for ordinance 2024-56-E? Mr. Cox, thank you for the second. Mr. Cox, thank you for the first. And Mr. Levitt, thank you for the second. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Tankersley?
Yes.
Mrs. Sharpshare?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Mr. Levitt?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mrs. Knight?
Yes.
And Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Emergency ordinance 2024-56E has been approved. First and only reading of ordinance 2024-57E, amending the salary ordinance to adjust authorized staffing for the police department lieutenant position and declaring an emergency.
All right, is there a motion for ordinance 2024-57-E? Mr. Cook, thank you first. Mr. Tankersley, thank you for the second. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Tankersley?
Yes.
Mrs. Sharpshare?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Mr. Levitt?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mrs. Knight?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Ordinance 2024-57E has been approved. First and only reading of emergency ordinance 2024-58E, authorizing the safety service director to enter into a job creation incentive grant for Project LEAP and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Is there a motion for ordinance 2024-58-E? Mr. Tankersley, thank you for the first. Mr. Schmidt, thank you for the second. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Tankersley?
Yes.
Mrs. Sharpshare?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Mr. Levitt?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mrs. Knight?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Emergency ordinance 2024-58E has been approved. Resolution 2024-R04E,
Resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Is there a motion for Resolution 2024-R-04-E? Mr. Tankersley, thank you for the first. Ms. Sharpshare, thank you for the second. Any discussion, please? Seeing none, roll call.
Mr. Tankersley?
Yes.
Mrs. Sharpshare? Yes. Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Mr. Levitt?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mrs. Knight?
Yes.
And Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Resolution 2024-R-04-E has been approved.
Thank you.
We also do have an added voice vote request.
Right, I've got that right here. Thank you. So we're holding a voice vote for the application and acceptance of a grant for the firefighting foam, as was presented earlier. Do I have a first? Mr. Levitt, thank you for the first. Ms. Knight, thank you for the second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say yes. Yes. Those opposed, no. Thank you, that has passed. This time, are there any residents desiring to be heard before council this evening? Still seeing none. Okay, thank you. Are there any other matters to be heard before council? Ms. Sharpshire?
Yes. I just wanted to bring this up because the dates are approaching very quickly for registering to vote in this upcoming election. That would be, you need to be registered by October 7th. So, and early voting begins October 8th. Early in-person voting. So if you're not registered or you know someone, maybe they just turned 18, October 7th is the last day to register to vote. They can go to the Board of Elections, they can go to the post office, the DMV, and the library.
Thank you. Any other matters this evening? All right, seeing none, I'm going to request a motion to go into executive session, Ohio Revised Code 121.22G3, conferences with an attorney for the public body concerning disputes involving the public body that are the subject of pending or imminent court action. So do I have a motion? Mr. Cook, thank you for the first. Mr. Tankersley, thank you for the second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Tankersley?
Yes.
Mrs. Sharpshare?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Mr. Levitt?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mrs. Knight?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
And will there be anything after this?
There will not be anything with the exception of the adjournment of this meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.